So today we're going to talk about some of the supplies and growth media that you might use if you have a hydroponic system. We've talked a little bit about the nets, pots that you're going to need to have. You can have a 1-inch, you can have a 2-inch pot, you might have a 4 or 6-inch pot, but these are able to allow access for the water to come up into the media itself and make sure that it stays wet and able for the roots to have the continuous water flow around them. So these are some of the things that you might need. One of the growth mediums that we use, this is a clay polymer based aggregate. These are like little marbles that allows for the roots to have something to hold on to for support. It's inert, so it's not going to give them any nutrients like traditional soil would, but it is going to give them a base to be able to have good growth potential. Another thing that you might have is you might have these foam blocks. These are able to be used as we've shown. They can be wet and has a pre-drilled little hole in them to have a seed go into the block itself. Another media that we might use might be rock wool. And this can come into these 1-inch blocks like the foam, or the rock wool can also be in a larger block setting. Again, the seed will go inside the center hole of the rock wool. It will be wet and it can place directly into those netting pots. Another type of material that you might see, this is becoming a new trend to use. This is Terra fiber. It's hemp fiber. A lot of times this might be used to pre-start with the water going through the bottom of this netting. Microgreens are grown on here. Sometimes beginning seeds are started on this and then transplanted into, once it's growing, into the clay polymers. So this is another type of media that you might use. The last one that we have is coconut coir. This is traditionally in a block, and so they're tight and they need to be placed into a water source to allow it to swell and come to its full maximum potential. This one we have has been soaking for a little while. You can see it's in sections, it's kind of hydrated, but then this is going to be needed to be kind of broken up. So I'm going to take this one, I'm going to kind of crunch it up and tear it apart a little bit. It again is coconut coir that's been ground up. So it's the coconut fibers, that outer shell that's been ground up. It also does not have any nutrients to it, so it's not like traditional soil that's bringing it. What it is though is going to allow that structure to be there so the roots can grab hold of it and be sturdy inside the pot as it's growing. Now this one, what we'll see we do is we're going to add it inside the pot. It's going to fill the net pot and it's going to allow the water to go in, but it's going to be there, it's going to be filled up, and then you can either transplant that seedling into here, or we can add our little foam blocks down inside that and it'll hold as it's getting established. So those are all our growth media that we might be using with our systems. Another thing that we need to think about as we're getting our system set up would be checking the pH levels. So we can actually use tester strips. We can dip it down into the water, and then this has a nice little chart that kind of shows the level that it might be. It's going to change the color, and we want ours to be in the 6.8 to 7.2 level. Most of our vegetables are going to want to be in that 6 to 7 range, so that we're along there. So we want to make sure that it's not too extremely light or too extremely dark. At that point, when we can establish our levels, we might need to make corrective actions. And we can utilize product that can either do your pH up to bring that acidity level back up. If it's too acidic, it'll raise the level back up. Or we might have to, if it's too alkaline and it needs to be a little more acidic, we need to bring it down. So there is a product that you have on the market that you can use to bring those levels. And this is using a tester strip. If we want to get extremely high tech with our practice, we can actually purchase one of these hand testers. We can turn it on and it's going to have our digital reading. We'll take this one and we'll actually have it inside our container in the water. We'll dip it down into the water and then we'll have the digital reading on where it's at. That way, then we'll know, is it in that 6 or 7 or 8 range, depending on where it's fluctuating. And then from this one, we can actually make our corrective measures at that time if we need to raise or lower it at any points. It might just be that we want to test it once a week anyway, just to see where we're at and kind of monitor that, making good records and writing down so we can kind of watch it over the next couple weeks on where it's fluctuating as we're growing. As we're adding our plants and all of our net pots and our media to our container, we're going to need to think about the nutrients that we add. And we have 3 different products that's on the market that we could do and use as the plant is growing. We know that whenever it's just germinating and just starting to grow, we're not going to need to add a lot of nutrients to our solution, but we still need some because there's no soil to this. So we have 2 different products. We have this one right here that is 216. So we have nitrogen, a small amount of phosphorus, and we have potassium. That potassium is really for roots and have good health of our plant as it's getting started. So this is smaller numbers than what we traditionally see maybe on synthetic fertilizers, but this is what we're going to use in our water solution to get our seeds started. Another one we might use as we're starting to see some growth on our plants and are starting to get up there to be about 1 inch tall, we might use this 501. This is really for that nitrogen boost. That's a higher nitrogen level, and it's going to give that plant leaf system and those plants to kind of get those leaves growing and give it a really good boost without stressing it out in any way. So this is another one that we might choose as the 2 are growing. Now, once that plant, say we have a pepper in there or an herb or possibly even a tomato growing in our hydroponic system, this is where we can now bring in this Flora one. This one has not as much nitrogen. It's 0 nitrogen on it, right? But our numbers are higher. We have a 5 and we have a 4. That 5 is for phosphorus. That's really for bloom set. And that's going to have where we're going to have that fruit itself. So for us to have those tomatoes that we can harvest, those maybe tiny tomatoes that we want to use in our garden salad, we're going to need to have this one instead of one of these other products. So those are items that you may want to think about purchasing to add to our solution. We definitely want to use one of these in the beginning because there is no nutrients in that water and that inert material. So our plants are going to need some of these solutions all the time so that they can continue growth and then to actually produce on a regular schedule. If you have any questions about the products that you might need or items that you're going to need for your system, please visit our University of Illinois Extension website or check out our YouTube channel for other videos with quick tips about hydroponics.